Alpaca Finance is a lending platform on the Binance Smart Chain. So lenders can earn stable yields. Borrowers have some flexibility as well. And with me is Head of Institutional Growth, Pete Woodard. Great to see you. So just give me an overview. What is Alpaca Finance?
Yeah, sure. So Alpaca Finance is a crypto lending platform. We provide yield-generating opportunities to primarily two different types of users. One of those users is looking for passive income that beats the bank or your banking account, so circa 5 to 10%. And the other is a more active investor, kind of in crypto DeFi, that look for higher yields, and they do something called yield farming, or also known as automated market making. But the value prop is pretty well the same for both. They're putting their assets to work with us, and they're generating higher than average yields you get pretty well anywhere else. As for the company goes, sorry, you're going to say something?
Well, I was going to ask you, give me an example of some yields.
Well, yeah, on the passive side, again, high single digits is not uncommon. For yield farmers, it sounds, compared to traditional finance, a bit insane, but it's double digits up to kind of triple digits. But that's yield farming. We focus on leverage. So we add leverage to yield farming.
Okay, all right. And decentralized finance. So that's a word we're hearing more and more. Kind of explain that concept.
Yeah. So in broad strokes, so decentralized finance is also known as DeFi, or more commonly known as DeFi. And really what it is an open financial system for the internet age built on blockchain. So unlike traditional finance, which is sort of centrally controlled by a company and at this point built on very old technology, with DeFi you're in complete control. And you can find, in terms of products, pretty well anything you could find in a bank. So lending, borrowing, investing, trading, and you're in complete control. The market as a whole is growing a lot, so it's about 300 billion, growing quarter on quarter. Yeah. And many of the largest sort of banks, institutions, family offices are all involved. But I would argue for the normal user, it's a level playing field. All the information is out there and complete level playing field.
No, it's a whole new paradigm for finance. It's going to be
Yeah.
interesting to see how this, how this all unfolds. So who would be a typical Alpaca Finance customer?
Yeah, it's a real mix. So we have a really broad user base. It kind of sits into two buckets. We have normal people like myself that use it for passive income or yield farming, so generating strategies. But there's notable institutions. We have family offices, funds, asset managers that are putting 7-8 figures of capital with us.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's not on the radar of a lot of people in finance.
No, not yet. I think it's on the radar with more than they speak about, in my humble opinion. So we speak to a lot of
it's like a well-kept secret.
Yeah, it's a really well-kept secret now. I think a lot of people are trying to, especially users, not so much, are really kind of caught on with it. But when we talk about institutions, I would argue that they're just trying to figure out how it fits into their mix. But it's definitely on their radar for sure.
So why do people use it? I mean, the yields are good. Are there other features that you have that are attractive to?
Yeah, so what we did from the get-go is we want to make it really easy for people to use to DeFi. There's always a learning curve with DeFi. So we made it very, very easy for both new people and existing users to use Alpaca. We focus on, in terms of product, called capital efficiency, which means more of your capital is at work, therefore you get higher yields overall. And unlike traditional finance, which is sort of like a black box in terms of how it works and what's going on, all of our business practices are open source, transparent, verifiable. In terms of technology, everything's there and can be viewed by users. So I think that's what we really focus on and build a great track record on the basis that are the security of our platform. We've had many, many audits, third-party audits, and a completely kind of squeaky clean track record.
Now, inflation has been a hot topic this year. I would imagine that the yields that you have would be attractive to somebody who's looking to have their money grow in an inflationary environment.
Exactly. So for the normal user, we've had people come to us to hedge against inflation, right? So nobody knows right now, is this inflation transitory? On the basis that they've dropped that word from the language, I would say maybe it isn't.
It's been around at least 6 to 9 months.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's underreported, but using Alpaca, users can really hedge against inflation and grow their savings. So yes, it's in decentralized finance, but it's denominated in US dollars, so it's like for like. So using Alpaca, let's say if inflation is 6.5%, maybe even more, they can still grow their savings. So that kind of high single digit, low double digit yield.
So what type of new products are you working on?
Yeah, so obviously my focus is the institutional side of the business. So we've been speaking to globally a lot of family offices, funds, asset managers, and these are ones that are sort of like moving into, like we spoke about, moving into DeFi. And they love the yield, but there's obviously, they see operational risk in terms of like fat fingers, clicking the wrong button, and also just generally kind of getting into the industry. So we were focusing on fixed return, so high single digit fixed return with downside protection, so a structured product. So there are other structured products in the market, but not like this that focus on fixed returns with also downside protection. And the sort of feedback from our users, it'll be out sort of end of Q1, but the feedback's been really great. It's exactly what they're looking for in terms of very easy to get into, single asset in, single asset out, with a really great yield and downside protection.
Okay, so let's talk about that. How can somebody invest in Alpaca's products?
Yeah, so in terms of DeFi as a whole, I'd say it's very, very, if you can open a bank account in this day and age, you can get involved in Alpaca and into DeFi. So you need two things generally. So one is a wallet, so MetaMask, people have probably heard about MetaMask. And then the other is kind of loading up that MetaMask wallet, which is like a digital bank account, through like a major exchange, like a Coinbase or a Kraken or a Binance. But the one thing really cool about DeFi is there's no minimum, so it can be $10, it can be $10,000. There's no lockup periods, so you could put it in Alpaca 1 second, pull it out, or keep it in for a year. Okay. And you're in complete control again, so it's called non-custodial. So rather than a bank, I give my money over, in this case, in DeFi and Alpaca, you're in complete control of your money at all times.
Very interesting. Thanks so much, Pete, for coming in.
Thanks for having me.